Honestly, the possibilities for us might even go beyond the Web3 space because everybody is kind of limiting themselves within just Web3.
All right, Pauline, I want to talk to you about ChangeNOW. People first thought of it as, I think, a simple swap service. Now it's a more full service opportunity, specifically around the B2B space.
Yep.
So I guess my question is sort of how did that evolution happen?
Well, we started back in the end of 2017, again, as a simple instant exchange where people could just like dip in, swap a pair of coins or tokens and dip out, no strings attached, no questions asked. But scaling happened as it is with a lot of successful businesses. When we started getting more users, the need for better quality arose. So we started building, as our founders come from a technical background, we started building a lot of our own infrastructure and a lot of the engines and APIs that we needed for exchange processing. And then we started realizing that the same API that we use for swapping can be used for payments. And from there, a payment system arose, which is called Now Payments. It's a pretty successful service used by the likes of Travala, a lot of casinos, and a lot of shops that accept crypto, a lot of shops and businesses. Then we started expanding the amount of cryptos that we support, and we quickly realized that we need to run our own nodes. A lot of the blockchains that we were supporting were not supported by anybody else, so we needed to kind of raise our own infrastructure and build it. And then we realized that some people on the market might need that infrastructure too. So we built a node service called ChangeNOW's. Again, it's another very successful business that services the likes of Elliptic, Trust Wallet, Kraken, and a few others. And then we kind of started building, a Lego castle, brick by brick by brick. And then we realized that, for example, exchanges might need, like centralized exchanges might need our custody engine, might need our payment processing, might need our trading abilities, because we do actually work as a market maker in our own right.
So you've talked about not needing to be everything for everyone, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the space right now who are trying to create every solution possible.
Yes.
ChangeNOW really is focused on the enterprise side and B2B, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about what does that mean for those customers, but also how does it really benefit the end consumer?
Of course. We have quite a strong experience and quite a lot of background in servicing B2C, and our B2C department is very big, and we've got like a whole lot of product strategies and things like that for B2C. However, we kind of decided to share that B2C experience with everybody, and in the end, what we actually kind of major in, right, is B2B2C. So even though we work with enterprises, we always tend to share the experience of like being good to customers. That's what our account managers do in their like consultations with our partners, always trying to make the experience better for everybody. Because again, in the end, it's all about retail and the end users, both for our partners and for us. Because right now, I think on the market, as you've said, everybody is trying to build all of these new solutions that might look good on paper, might be appealing to investors. However, they were not built for retail in mind. So I guess you could call them kind of like vanity projects for founders to feel good about.
What, in your opinion, are the biggest pain points that enterprises are dealing with when trying to get into crypto?
Whenever a big enterprise tries to get into crypto, we've seen that happen so many times, especially when the NFT market was booming back then, was that when people are trying to get into Web3, they kind of hire Web2 people to do it for them. And they're trying to kind of apply traditional Web 2 marketing strategies and traditional Web 2 approaches to Web 3, which kind of doesn't really benefit neither the Web 3 crowd, which sees those companies as incompetent, as well as the Web 2 crowd, for whom the explanation how this crypto thing works and how to interact with it safely simply doesn't exist, because the people that were kind of trying to build it didn't have the expertise to kind of deliver that explanation.
So Pauline, we were talking earlier, and we were both in Korea. We're in Singapore right now. I was in Rio prior to that, and everyone was talking about stablecoins, cross-border payments, ways of utilizing and reimagining the rails of traditional finance. Something I'm sure that you guys have to think about on a daily basis.
Of course.
So what do you think is the kind of revolution happening within that payments infrastructure like you just mentioned, and how does ChangeNOW help that forward?
So we've seen a very big push, like everybody's talking about stablecoins right now, and we've seen a lot of stablecoin payment blockchains used, for example, like Plasma. And Visa Direct recently introduced a way for enterprises to pay with stablecoins. And we are constantly optimizing our own infrastructure when it comes to stablecoin payments for our payment systems. And we're kind of rushing to build infrastructure for all of the newer stablecoin networks to kind of stay in the loop of what's happening on the market, because that's what any sane company would do, right? We're trying to kind of when we work with bigger enterprises, we're currently having a little bit of an eye on neobanks, because this is what we would like to kind of work with, even though the spectrum of potential partners for us is pretty much endless, because again, we specialize in keeping money, counting money, sending money, and anyone who is in the fintech space might be interested in that.
You were mentioning earlier an example of how hard it is still to deal with getting money across borders. Summarize that experience and where you think it's going.
Yes, of course. Right now we're living in the world where a lot of people are displaced, living in a world where a lot of people don't live in their home countries anymore. So especially it's evident in Europe and the Americas. The case right now is there is a ton of people who had to leave or chose to leave, but they're still getting money in their home country, or they're making money in one country, where they're currently residing, and they need to send funds back to their home country. With traditional payment methods, it's getting harder and harder, especially when it comes to FX, right? And I'm originally from Europe, and I do have to send money to relatives. And the way that works is I need to take one currency, swap it into USDT, then send the money to another country, right? And the way that works is, again, the way of turning fiat money into stablecoins and sending those stablecoins across the border and swapping those stablecoins back into fiat is always a tedious task, which might be easy for me because I've been in crypto for 7 years. Mm-hmm. But for people, we've got friends who live in Portugal, mm-hmm. and they are constantly struggling with Binance and Wirex and moving money back and forth and back and forth. It is really hard for a 40-year-old woman who hasn't heard the word crypto before 2023. And the interfaces that she has to interact with on the daily are highly complicated. And there is that brings a risk of people losing their finances. Mm-hmm. And
it sounds like that also brings an opportunity.
Yes, this is what I was actually getting at, because right now there is a very ripe, I would say fertile ground, right, for building an infrastructure that would be inoffensive to retail, especially retail that is coming from the Web 2 space. We're currently working on, it isn't really like anything tangible yet, but we do have a few ideas on how to make it work for retail specifically, especially retail that is in that situation. So can't say anything yet, can't name any names yet, but I have introduced a few ideas to management, and when I get back from Token, I will at least try working on those ideas.
I guess my final question for you is, we started with what ChangeNOW was and where it evolved into. What do you think you want people to know about ChangeNOW going into the future?
ChangeNOW is, like, we recently had a little bit of a change in narrative, which was specifically brought forward by the evolution of the service. Back then, people knew us as an instant crypto exchange. And this is so much, like, this is limiting what we are so much. So right now, ChangeNOW is a full-fledged crypto management platform, which allows individuals and businesses manage their funds in a simple and seamless way. All you need to do is do insane stuff, and we'll handle your money.
All right. Well, with that, Pauline, thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you so much for having me.